Today's press teleconference will start with our Commissioner, Mike Aresco, who we will now turn it over for a brief statement on the 2018-19 season. Commissioner Aresco?
Thank you, Mike. And then I believe the protocol is I would answer a few questions. Mike, is that correct?
That's correct, Mike. And a reminder to our media members, *1 to ask a question of Commissioner Aresco on their keypad.
Great. Well, speaking of that, again, I'm pleased that we've got our coaches on. It's a terrific group. First, I want to congratulate Houston and Coach Kelvin Sampson on winning the regular season championship. He's done a remarkable job. They're 29-2 entering the postseason, and he's just done a terrific job resurrecting a once great program. I'm confident in saying that our tournament will be the most competitive that we've had, and I think one of the most competitive top to bottom in the entire country. It should be very intense. We're hoping that we have 4 teams that would, appear to be in good shape. I hesitate to use the word locks, but I don't want to tempt fate. But, Houston, Cincinnati, Temple, and UCF, but also I think Memphis and Wichita State should be in the mix. I don't think there's a team in the country that would want to play them right now. So I don't think it's out of the question for us to have as many as 5 or 6, maybe 6 is a stretch, depending on how things go this week. And also somebody could steal a bid. Somebody that, maybe is on the bubble and maybe on the wrong side of the bubble could steal a bid. So you never know what's going to happen, but it should be a pretty intense tournament with great attendance. We expect Memphis to really turn out. The team has galvanized the city. They were a terrific host for our inaugural men's tournament back in 2014. And as you know, we won a national championship that year, so maybe that portends some good things for the future. So we're looking forward to coming back for an exciting week. That's really it. I could go through all the talking points, and I've got plenty of them, but I'm not going to, inundate you with those. But if anybody has questions, I'd be happy to answer them. This day is really devoted more to the coaches than it is to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. And to our media members, again, *1 on your keypad to enter the queue and ask a question of Commissioner Aresco. And at this time, we will open it up to questions.
I'd like to take our first question from Mark Narducci with Philadelphia Inquirer.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Mark.
I wanted to ask you, can you enlighten us on anything on the TV negotiations? There have been kind of reports that you've been in negotiations. Has anything been finalized?
Yeah, I knew that question would come up, Mark, and unfortunately I have to maintain radio silence on that. I just can't talk about it. It's sensitive, so I just have to leave it at that. But, I apologize, can't give you more information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Chris Gardner with Houston Round Ball Review.
Hi, good morning, Commissioner. My question, are there plans for future conference basketball championships to be in other cities, member schools?
We have a 3-year deal after this year with the new arena in Fort Worth, Dickies Arena, which holds about 14,000. It'll be a brand new arena. It's going to host the NCAA first round, I believe, next year or the year after. And we have we'll be there for 3 years. And the great thing about that is that probably a half dozen of our schools are within driving distance of that venue, and that would mean, a tremendous boost to attendance. When you have Wichita and Tulsa, SMU right in the market, Houston, Memphis, New Orleans, where people can drive, and it's also the best gateway in terms of airport for people coming in, so it makes travel easy. It's a brand new arena, and we're really excited about being there, and that'll be for 3 years. After that, I don't know what we're going to do, but we wanted to plant the flag in one place for a while. It helps with your sponsors. Also, as you know, we've got plans to move the office to Dallas, so that'll be a good synergy having the tournament there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And again, a reminder to our media members, if you'd like to ask a question of Commissioner Aresco, *1 on your keypad. Commissioner Aresco, the Houston Cougars wrapped up their first outright season title in many years. What are your thoughts on Coach Sampson's squad as they head into the championship tournament?
Well, they're really good. Some of our coaches have said, they're Final Four good. I don't want to jinx them. That's the last thing I want to do. But they're really an outstanding team. They play great defense. They have, playmakers, people who can score when necessary. Obviously, Corey Davis has been phenomenal. But they have a number of really good players, and they're just extremely well coached. Kelvin knows how to get the most out of his teams. I know they're going to want to, they came heartbreakingly close last year to making a real run in the tournament, and they're going to want to, do so this year. I think they'll obviously be a formidable foe in our own tournament, and then in the NCAA. And I don't know what seed they're going to get, but they deserve a high one, that's for sure. But it's great to see that program come back. I was there Thursday. I was able to hand out the regular season trophy, and the arena is just spectacular. Tillman Fertitta's done a phenomenal job helping out Houston Athletics, and the arena is one of the nicest I've seen, and it's a perfect size for them, and the people are now invested in the program. The students are, the people in Houston are. So he did what SMU did, several years ago, except he had the benefit of the incredible pedigree that this Houston program has. We're waking up the echoes, so to speak, now with the great teams that he has, and and this is going to continue. He's built a real program now. When Rob Gray graduated, you might have thought, well, there'll be a fall off because Rob was so integral to their success. But this proves he has a real program, and that's what we've been looking for in this conference.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
This top to bottom has potentially been the most competitive the league has ever been. Is there a team or something that has surprised you this season?
Yes, USF, no question. Brian Gregory has done a terrific job, and they've been extremely competitive all season long. Also, Joe Dooley will get it done eventually at East Carolina. It takes time. The net is the new formula now, but we've managed to get almost all of our teams in the right place. Obviously Tulane has struggled this year, but we hope that that'll turn around because they've been very competitive the last few years. But I think USF is probably the most pleasant surprise. Also, you can see what Dan Hurley is building at UConn. He may not necessarily have the recruits he's going to have, but he's done a great job with that team. They play hard. They play really intense basketball, and you can see the progress. And then I would do a shout out to Penny Hardaway because he's done a great job with a Memphis team that is going to, as going to be loaded with top recruits next year. But it's also Jeremiah Martin has been a real has been incredible. He's done a really fine job, and Tulsa's been very competitive all season long. They don't get a lot of publicity, but they've been in a lot of close games all season long. It's just a very competitive conference. But those are the teams that I think have pleasantly surprised. And I know you could say UConn hasn't won, but you can see the change in the whole culture and how they're playing, and that bodes well for the future.
Thank you, Mike. And you touched upon many of the coaches in this conference, and they really have had a sensational year. A reminder to our media members, *1 to ask a question, and we'll open it up now again.
We'll take our next question from Sean Pastor with Owls Daily.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good, Sean. And before you even ask me the question, I just wanted to mention Fran Dunphy and how much we all love and respect Fran. And obviously his final game, regular season game, was a victory over a really good team. And it's heartwarming for Fran. We never root for any particular team in conference play, but Fran has just been an icon, and I just wanted to mention him before you asked me a question. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned the net, and I was just curious if you think, there's been a little bit of discussion recently about maybe the net moved, from where the RPI didn't look at scoring margin, and that the net has moved that where margin of victory maybe teams get credit for maybe blowout wins in certain criteria for over, say, weak teams. Do you expect more tweaking with respect to the net or when they get into this next off season?
I think so. I don't think there's any question, and I think Dan Gavitt would be the first to say this is a work in progress. It's a brand new system they've implemented. There are always, as you know, adjustments and tweaks, and especially since the net and the RPI doesn't always equate. And in some of our cases, some of our top teams would have a better RPI than they did net. And we'll look hard at that. Nate Pomaday, our basketball vice president, is looking closely at that and trying to determine, where we think some adjustments should be made. But yes, I think it'll be reviewed, and I suspect that, who knows? Maybe they'll feel it worked perfectly, but I doubt it. I think they'll think that they need to make some adjustments. That's my sense.
Okay, and I had a separate question, a different sort of area. This league has where it seems like around the country, right? Teams look for the hot young coach. This league has really looked in almost all cases for the experienced hand, and it's kind of, it seems like it's paying dividends almost across the board. I wonder if you could just speak to sort of that, how schools look at handling, replacing coaches one way or the other, and why the sort of the elder statesman types coach or experienced coach has worked so well in this league.
Yeah, that's a great question because unlike football, we're able to keep our coaches and we're able to attract veteran coaches to our conference. And it's partly because in basketball we have incredible pedigree. When you look at UConn, when you look at Memphis, when you look at Cincinnati and Houston, what they did in the Phi Slamma Jamma days, and Wichita State and others, Temple, you see tremendous pedigree there. And so we have a better chance of attracting. We pay our coaches extremely well. And football, as you know, the P5 offers some pretty astounding salaries to some of our coaches. And we haven't had, we built an incredible football conference, but we haven't had the pedigree. And so we tended to hire younger coaches who would typically, move on. We're hoping to keep more of them. But in basketball, we haven't had to do that. And so consequently, our ADs have been able to find veteran coaches like Joe Dooley, and so consequently, some of our schools obviously had coaches in place like Mick Cronin, like Greg Marshall, like Kelvin Sampson, Tim Jankovic. We had Larry Brown before him. Even Brian Gregory's a veteran. It's different in basketball, and I think that's, it's good for us, obviously. But football, we found a good formula too because we've been able to replace those football coaches with good young coaches. But it's a different paradigm that we have to deal with in football. So we're not necessarily looking, for the hot young coaches much, although you can find some of them too, clearly. But you have. You look at Johnny Dawkins, who's a veteran, and he comes and he's done a great job with UCF. But we'll be hiring some younger coaches, as well. I don't think there's any question about that. I guess you could argue that Tim was a younger coach, but for the most part, we do have a stable of veterans that it's harder to assemble in football.
Hey, thanks.
And Commissioner Aresco, just one final question. As you've seen this league grow and blossom over 6 years now, where have you seen this conference start, is now, and could potentially go?
Well, I'm gratified to see the incredible progress we've made. You really think back 6 years ago, and things were in disarray, and that was we took the brunt of the realignment situation, and there was some question as to whether the conference, would survive, let alone thrive. And it's not only survived; it has thrived. And I think I give all the credit in the world to our administrators, student athletes, and coaches. Our administrators have hired great coaches. We've recruited intelligently, which we've had to do. We've faced off against the P5, and that's not easy to do. And in basketball, we're part of what we consider a P7, but it's not easy to compete the way we have. And when you think about it, I think grow and blossom is exactly the right term. And where are we going? I think this is just the beginning. I've said, the old Churchill line is maybe the end of the beginning, but we've got a lot of work to do. We want to be an autonomy conference eventually. We want to do some other things. We'd like to get back and win a national championship in basketball again. We'd like to continue our string of bowl games, eventually have a contract bowl game. I don't think any of that's out of the question, down the road. We need more revenue. I think we'll get it. But the point is, this conference has exceeded anyone's expectations, and there's no reason to think with the kind of schools we have, there was a lot of potential here that just wasn't tapped. And so I'm very pleased that, we're going to continue, and I think we'll continue to do what we've been doing. Thank you.
Commissioner Aresco, thank you very much for your time this morning, and we will see you down in Memphis.